Hi, my name is Stephen Gauci and welcome back. In this video we're going to focus in on Charlie Parker changes in the first four measures of the blues form. Okay, so there's a PDF component to this video, so please go to my website, skypelessons.gauchimusic.com. There's a link at the end of this video. Please go there and download the music so that you can follow along. I've written out the solo that we're going to work on here. Actually, I'm creating this solo right now, and I will write it out later, but it will be available on PDF. Okay, so also you want to check out the videos right before this one, where we're also focusing on the blues form, but different permutations of it. Okay, this is the first one where we're dealing with Charlie Parker chord changes. But check those out first, because this is built on what we covered in those videos. Okay, so let's get right into it. So just to recap, the first four measures of the blues as we have been doing it we have the one chord in the first measure. Okay, so we're in the key of C now. Okay, tenor C, that would be concert B flat. Okay, so in the first measure we have the one chord, that's a C7 chord. Okay, and then in the second measure we go up to the 4 chord, and that is the F dominant 7 chord. And then in the third measure we go back to the 1 chord, okay, the C chord, the C7. And then in the fourth measure we have a 2-5 into the fifth measure. Okay, the 4 chord in the fifth measure is F7. So in the fourth measure we have a 2-5, a G minor 7 for 2 beats, and a C7 for the second 2 beats going into the fifth measure. Okay, so I'm just going to run those changes and I'll go right into the fifth measure. Okay, so you can hear that, and and we'll take it from there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the first four measures, and this is mostly what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so now what we're going to do is in the first measure we're just going to keep the C7. Okay, so we're still going to have this in the first four beats of the form. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now starting in the second measure, this is where it gets exciting. Okay, now what we do here is we start this cascade motion. Okay, it's a continual forward motion progression that does not end until we get to the fifth measure. So that's what's happening here, and we do this with 2 5s. So in the second measure we're going to have a B minor 7th on the first 2 beats, and an E7 on the second 2 beats. Okay, this is starting in the second measure. Okay, so essentially in the first measure we have a C7, right? C, E, G, and B flat. Now what we do in the second measure is we go down a half step to B. So we were on a C chord, now we're going down a half step to a B minor chord, and that's how we start the cycle. Okay, so that's the thing you remember. Just when you're on the root chord, the 1 chord, which is C7, and then in the second measure we start the 2 5s. We just go down a half step to the B minor 7. Okay, so it's going to be like this. I'm going to start the cycle, and I'm just going to do the first 2 measures right now. Okay, and I'm going to start right on the first measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Okay, so what we have then is in the second measure we have a B minor. Okay, and I'm gonna do this in the middle range this time. We have B minor, so we have a B natural. Okay, and then we have a D natural is the third, the minor third. Okay, so again we have B natural. We have D natural. Okay, then we have F sharp is the fifth. and then A natural is the dominant 7 or the flat 7. So that's on the first 2 beats of the second measure. Okay, and then the next chord is E7. E7, and that's the 5 chord. Okay, E7, the root is E. And then the third is G sharp. And then the fifth is B. And then the dominant 7 is D natural. Okay, so again, this 2-5 together is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now that's a 2-5 into A minor. Okay, so you have B minor 7, and then is the 2 chord. E7 is the 5 chord, and then in the third measure, the first chord is A minor 7. Okay, and A minor 7 is a 2 chord, and then the second half of the third measure is D7. Okay, so in the first measure we have C7, 1, 2, 4. Right, and then in the second measure we have B minor 7 to E7. Third measure we have A minor 7 to D7. Okay, so that's the first 3 measures so far. So what's happening is, so now we have C, C7, C. Okay, then we go down a half step to B, and we start the 2-5 cycle. So then we have in the second measure B, down a half step from C, B minor 7 as 2, B minor 7 for 2 beats, and then E7 is 5 for the second 2 beats. And then in the third measure, we go down to A, okay, which is a whole step. Okay, so we're going down letter names now. We started on C in the first measure, and then we went to B in the second measure, in the beginning of the second measure, and then we go to A in the beginning of the third measure. Okay, so we're starting this stepwise motion downward. It's like a cascade, like a waterfall kind of. Okay, or rather a series of waterfalls. Okay, so now in the third measure we have the A minor 7 to the D7. Okay, and then in the fourth measure we're gonna go down one more step. Okay, and we're gonna go down to G minor 7 to C7, okay, which was there in the last permutation we did on the blues form. We already had that 2-5 there, okay, and that puts us into the F7, the 4 chord in the 5th measure. Okay, so I'm going to play this whole 4 measure cycle for you. I'm just going to run the chords, and then we'll talk about how to deal with that. Okay, so let me just read. Okay, here we go. And 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so in the first measure we have the C7. That's C, E, G, B flat. Okay. In the second measure, we start the 2-5 cycle, and we have a B minor, low B, okay, and then D natural, and then F sharp is the 5th, and then A is the flat 7. That's the 2 chord in the second measure, okay, 5 chord in the second measure, E7. That's E, and then G sharp is the 3rd, okay, and then the 5th is B natural, and then this the flat 7, the dominant 7 is D natural. Okay, now that puts us in the 3rd measure. The 3rd measure now, that in the second measure that 2-5 goes into A minor, okay. E7 is the 5 chord of A minor. or A major or A minor, okay? But we're going into A minor. So the third measure now, the first chord is a 2-chord, it's A minor. So we have A, and then the third is C natural, and then the fifth is E natural, and then the flat 7 is G natural. Okay, and then and now that was A minor 7 in the third measure, A minor 7, what we just did, to D7, okay? Now we have the D7 is the fifth chord. I'm sorry, yeah, it's the fifth, okay? And we start on D natural. And then we have F sharp, it's the third. And then A is the fifth. And then C natural is the flat 7. Okay? So now the third measure is A minor 7 to D7. Now we're going into the fourth measure, and the D7 is a 5-chord of G minor 7. Okay, so in the fourth measure we have G minor 7 for 2 beats, and then C7 for 2 beats. Okay, and here's your G minor, it's G, and then we have B flat. That's the minor third. Then the fifth is D natural. And then the flat 7 is F. Okay, and then the C7 chord, which is the 5-chord in the fourth measure, is we have low C. Alright, and then we have E natural, the third. And then we have G natural, the fifth. And then we have B flat, the flat 7. Okay, so a couple of things. First, if you're not clear on how to actually run the chords, in other words, you know, the notes in each chord, you know, this here's a C7. Just running the actual notes that make up each chord. Dominant 7s, minor 7s, major 7s, etc. Okay, so if you're not clear on that, please go back and check out, you know, the videos, how to practice chord changes, okay? And you know, everything's there, it's all explained, there's examples, and there's PDF downloads, and work with that first, and become familiar and comfortable, and memorize the chord changes. You know, not the changes, but the actual chords themselves. The changes mean, you know, when we're playing the song and we're going from chord to chord through the song, okay? And the chords are changing. That's what we mean by chord changes. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean the actual running of each individual chord that needs to be memorized, because, you know, there's just not going to be any time and really enough attention, you know, to be able to focus on learning that while we're trying to improvise. Okay, so go back and check that out if you need to. Okay, now the other thing is I will be making other videos where we deal specifically on 2/5s. Okay, so, you know, this video is more about the overall blues form and how the 2/5s work within the blues form. But I will be isolating the 2/5s, and, you know, and we're in a separate video where we can explore different ways to negotiate them and work through them, and you know, all of that. Okay, so you know, just check back for that at a later time. Okay, so now let's move ahead and let's see if we can construct a melodic line for those first 4 measures. Okay, so the first measure, we have the C7, and, you know, we can just start that maybe like this. How about 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's a statement. The first measure is still a statement measure. It's a 1 chord, and a 1 chord makes a statement. That's what it does. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't want to go anywhere. It doesn't feel the need to go anywhere. It says something. It makes a clear statement. Okay, and you know, and so what we did in the previous version of the blues form is we had the 4 chord in the second measure, right? And that would have been another statement measure. So what I would have done okay, had the 4 chord still been in the second measure, I would go like this. So from the beginning I would go 3, 4. Okay, I would just repeat that statement. But now we're doing this Charlie Parker chord progression. Okay, so we're going to start the 2 5s in the second measure on that B minor 7, and you know, it's kind of like pulling the bow back. You know, and once we release it, you know, that arrow does not stop until it reaches the target, and the target is the 4 chord in the 5th measure. Okay, so we start this process in motion, and essentially we're gonna carry it right through into the 5th measure. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna go from the 1 chord again. Let's just see what happens. All that 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. That's one way to do it. Okay. Let me see. Let's see how we did this. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this is basically a scale-wise motion. And why? That's just the way it worked out. That's how I started it. And you know, pretty much the first thing that we play determines everything that comes after it. Okay? Because every choice we make is determined on the note that we played before it. Okay? So pretty much as soon as I went, so we went in the first measure on a C7, and I started on the low C, and then I went to E, and then I went to G, and then I went to B flat, okay? And that's just a straight C dominant 7 chord. It's a straight C7 chord, the 1 chord, and I just went 3, 4. Okay? Straight chord. Now, in the second measure, I start on B natural, and it's a B minor 7 chord for the first two beats, okay? And it's the 2 chord. So, and I start on the B natural. So in the last note I play in the first measure is the B flat. Right? Here's the B flat, and the next note is just a half step above it. It's the B natural. Okay, and then I go up the B minor chord. I go. Okay, so B, and then G natural, the 3rd, F sharp, the 5th, and that's A, the dominant 7. Okay, so. Okay, so from the 1 chord it's 3, 4. Okay, so I go from the B minor 7 chord. I go B, G, F sharp, A. Now I change direction. I went up the chord actually, so that was chord wise. And now I change direction. I'm on the A natural. It's the flat 7, and I was going up, and now I'm going to go down. But I'm going to go down scale wise, not chord wise. So you know, when I say chord wise, you know, obviously it means I'm skipping a note each time. Okay, so, and that's what we do. That's how we make a chord. You know, you have the B, and then you skip the C, and the next note in the chord is D, and then you skip the E, and the next chord in the note in the chord is F sharp. Okay, so that's chord wise, and that's what I did going up. I ran the chord, but going down, I'm going scale wise, and that means I'm not skipping any notes in the scale. I'm just going right down. So I'm going to start on the B minor again. I'm going to go chord wise, 3, slow, and. Okay, so on the way down, I went to G sharp. Okay, and that's in an E. This is an E7 chord now. It's the 5 chord. We're on the 3rd beat, and the E7 chord is E, G sharp, B natural, and then D natural. Okay, and if we put the flat 7, the flat 9 in there, that would be F natural. Okay, so on a 5 chord, we can use the flat 9. That's the only place we can use it. We can't use it on a 1 chord. We can't use it on a 4 chord. We don't generally use it on the 2 chord, but we when it occurs every so often on a 2 chord, we call it a flat 5. Okay, but it's predominantly on the 5 chord, and that's what we did here. So I went B minor again. I went. That's the A, the dominant 7 on the B minor chord, and then the next note I'm going down now is G sharp. That's the 3rd, and then F natural. That is the flat 9 on the E7 chord, and then E natural. Okay, it's the root, and then D natural is the flat 7, the dominant 7. Okay, so we just, on the E7 chord, we just started on a G sharp note, the 3rd, and then we went down to the next letter note, the F. Okay, it could have been F sharp, and that would work too. If I played F sharp, it would sound like it. Okay, but the F natural is just a little bit more effective. It stands out a little bit more, and especially because on the B minor chord we went, there's an F sharp on the B minor chord. That's just 1 beat before the E7 chord, okay? So it's more effective if on the E7 chord we play the F natural or the flat 9 instead of the F sharp like we did on the B minor. So there's a contrast between the two, and the ear really picks it up. It really stands out. Okay, so you hear that F, okay. Okay, like that. Okay, now, so we went up the chord on the minor chord. We went chord-wise up, and then we went scale-wise down. Okay. Now let's see what do we do after that. So we went. Okay. So now we start like a continuous scale-wise movement down. Okay, so we're going again on the B minor 7. We have, and we go down the E7, starting on G sharp. Okay, now we're in the 3rd measure, and we're on an A minor 7 chord. Okay, and here's the A minor 7. Okay, so what we're going to do is, we're going to start on this B minor again, and then here's E7. That's a D natural I'm on now. Okay, and now the next note is going to be C. We're going to keep going down letter names. So I went C, B, A, G. Okay, those are the first 2 beats of the 3rd measure, and it's the A minor 7 chord. It's a 2 chord. Okay, and I went C, and then the next note is B, and then the next note is A, and then the next note is G. So the first note I played C, that's the minor 3rd. So it's really pretty perfect the way it worked out, because immediately it's a minor chord. Okay, and the bass player will be playing the A natural, right? So right away we know it's a 2 chord. We know it's A minor because the saxophone is playing C, the minor 3rd, and the bass is playing the root. Okay, so then here we go. We keep going. C, and then we do a passing tone, B natural, which is a scale tone, and then we go to A natural, the root. and then the next note. These are eighth notes, by the way. They fit into 2 beats, okay? And then the next note is G natural. And that is the flat 7, the dominant 7. Okay, so we hit the C, the minor third, we know it's minor. Okay, we hit the A, but we already have the A in the bass anyway, so we know it's A minor, right? And then we hit the G, so we know it's a minor 7. So it's all the information you really need is right there, those 4 notes. And you're just going down the scales. You're going down the letter names. So I'm going to start on the second measure again. On the B minor 7, we go B, D, the third, F sharp, the fifth, A, the flat 7. Now we're on the E7 chord, okay? And we're going down now, down the scale, and we go to G sharp, the third, now F, the flat 9, and then E, the root, and then D natural is the flat 7. Now we're in the third measure, we're on the A minor 7 chord, and we keep going down the scale. We were on D, and now we're going to go to C. It's the minor third on the A minor 7, the C, and now we go to B. It's a passing tone, a scale tone, then we go to A. That's the root in the A minor 7, and then we go to G. That was the dominant 7, the flat 7 on the A minor 7. Okay, now we're on the next chord is D7. Okay, it's the second half, the second 2 beats of the third measure. It's a D7. It's the 5 chord. Okay, when I go like that 5 chord, it's because, you know, Roman numeral 5, okay? I think I've been doing this for the 2 chord. Alright, I'll have to change that. So anyway, now, so let's go. So from the A minor, right? C, B, A, G, and now we're going to keep going. Okay, so now this is what happened. Okay, so I'm on the A minor now, and I went the third, the minor third, then passing tone, B, and then the root, A, and then the flat 2nd G, and I keep going down the letter names. Now I'm on F sharp, and this is the D7 chord, the 5 chord, okay, and F sharp is the third. Okay, now here's the deal. I'm still going down. The line is still going down, okay, and so the letter names are still going to go down. I'm still going scale-wise down. So I'm going to start on this F sharp, it's the third in the D7 chord, and then I go to E flat. I'm going to make these low notes now. E flat, go F, E, or F sharp, E flat. It's still a letter name, it's still going down, F to E. Okay, so, and the E flat is the flat 9 on the D7 chord, and the D7 is a 5 chord, so we can use the flat 9, okay? So, we're going to start on the F sharp again. That's the third, then E flat, flat 9, and then low D is the root, okay, and then C is the dominant 7. So I just go down the letter names, okay? So we started on the A minor chord on C, the third, and then B, and then A, the root, and then G, the flat 7, and then now we're on the D7, and we repeat the same sequence really. The same is, so we're starting on the third, and then the flat 9, E flat, and then D, the root, and then C natural is the flat 7. Okay, now here's where something a little tricky comes in. Okay, so I want to get out of this low range, this area, like all the way down there, because I'm pretty low. That last note I played was low C, and for tenor, you know, low B flat. You know, I only have 2 more notes left before I hit the bottom. And I want to keep going. I mean, the phrase needs to keep going. We have to keep, I want to carry this right through until the 5th measure, and we're still only in the second half of the 3rd measure. Okay, so I've run out of saxophone. Okay, I would need like another, another 5 notes down here. Okay, so what I did was I jumped the octave. Okay, and a good place to do that was on the flat 9 on the E flat. Okay, so this is what I did. I went, so from the A minor 7 I went, now it's just D7, the 5 chord, and instead of going, I'm going to go, okay, so I went F sharp, and then I jumped the octave, I put the octave key down, and I play the middle E flat, that's the flat 9, and then G is the root, and then I'm actually back on this middle C, natural is the flat 7, okay, this way it puts me up in the range of the horn, and I have more room to, to keep creating the line. Now, so, we started in the beginning on the first measure with this C7, and we started, right, and then we went up to the B natural, and we started the 2-5 sequence in the second measure with the B minor. And now we're going down, starting on the E7, we go down scale-wise. Right, that was the E7. Now we're on the A minor 7, we're still going down scale-wise. Now on the D7, the 5 chord in the third measure, we're still going down scale-wise. So even though I made that jump on the F, the low, from the lower sharp, I went even though I made that jump and we wound up here, instead of down here, ba ba da da, I went ba ba da da. Even though I did that, the line is still going straight down. It's as if I went ba da da da. So really we went ba da 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 da. Even though it sounds like this, ba da 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 da. We're really going ba da 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 da. The actual line is still moving down, straight down. It's a line that's going straight down. Okay, and what we really probably want to do is continue having that line go straight down until we hit the bottom. Okay, and then that will be the end of the sentence. That will be the end of the phrase, and that's probably should occur in the 5th measure, because all this is resolving into the F7, the 4 chord. Okay, the 4 chord is it's behaving like a 1 chord. The 4 chord behaves like a 1 chord. Okay, and it's a statement measure, and these 2 5s are moving toward it. The 4 chord itself isn't going anywhere. It's right where it is. It's solid. Doesn't have any desire to do anything. Okay, so we're going to continue with this line. We have one more measure of it. So here we go. It's 1, 2 from the beginning. 3, 4. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's start now from the B minor one more time. We have the B minor. Okay, and now the E7, we start going down scale-wise. Now we're on A minor 7 in the 3rd measure, and we're still going down scale-wise from the C note. And now we're on D7. The 5 chord in the 3rd measure, okay, second 2 beats, and we're still going down scale-wise even though we jumped the octave. Okay, now we're on G minor 7, it's the 4th measure. We're on G minor 7 for 2 beats, and then the second 2 beats are the 5 chord C7, and then that goes into the 4 chord F7. Okay, so G minor 7. So now we're back to recap the A7. The 3rd measure is. And here we are. We're on C, and we're just going to keep going right down the scale. So now it would be B flat, would be the minor third for the G minor 7 chord. Go B flat, minor third, and then A is passing tone, scale tone, and then G is the root, and then F natural is the flat 7. Okay. Okay. Now we're on the C7 chord, and so we go. That's up. Now we go to E on the C7 chord. Okay. Now the E is the third note on the C7 chord. We're on the 5 chord. Okay. Now we're gonna do the same thing when we jump the octave that we did in the previous measure. Okay. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 3, the low E, to D flat, all open, and that is the flat 9. Okay. And then we're gonna go to C natural, the root, and then B flat, and that completes that measure. So I'm going to show you again how it sounds if I were to go straight down and go in, in the low range. So from the let's do it from the third measure, the A minor 7. So. In that measure, that's how it sounds if we keep going down. And now I'm going to jump the octave. Now this is the G minor. Now C7. Okay, that's if I went on the C7. If I went E the third, and then G flat, the flat 9, and these are all low notes, and then C the root, and then low B flat, the flat 7, and we're just going down the scale. Okay, we're going E, the letter name E, letter name D, C, and then B flat. Okay, we keep going down, but then I have no room. Okay, low B flat's the lowest note, so I'm going to jump the octave again on the flat 9, on the D flat. Okay, and we're just going to wind up in a higher range so that we can continue the line. Okay, so the entire thing from the beginning so far now is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in that fourth measure, the G minor, it's a B flat, A, G natural, F natural, the flat 7, okay? And then it goes to the C7, we have E the third, and then D flat, the flat 9, and then C the root, and then B flat, the flat 7, okay? And then we resolve into the F7, okay? The 4 chord in the 5th measure, okay? And I have an A natural that we resolve into, so we go. Okay, so in the 4th measure we have the G minor 7, C7 in the 4th measure, and it resolves into the F7. So it's, and that last note in the 4th measure is the B flat, and it resolves into A, which is the 3rd note of the F7 chord. That's on the first beat of the 5th measure. It's the F7, the 3rd. Okay, so again from the 4th measure it. Okay, so in the 5th measure we have A natural, and that's for a beat and a half. It's for a dotted quarter note. Okay, and then we have a E flat, the 2nd note. Okay, and that is the dominant 7 on the 4 chord. Okay, so one more time and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay, 1, 2, 3. in the next video, we'll finish off the blues, and we'll do the rest of the chord changes. This was only the first 4 measures, okay? And so that's about it for today, and have a great day. Thanks.